Welcome everybody to another exciting episode of Web3 Talk Show. I'm your host, and today we have incredible guests with their team are shaping the future of DeFi and blockchain ecosystem. Joining us are Tristian and Slava today, the co-founders of Entangle, a next generation cross-chain synthetics protocol focused on creating an interconnected liquidity sublayer across multiple chains. To put in the context first, we recently posted out the video of explain like an M5 session with them on YouTube, and we talked about the product, what they are building, and asked a couple interesting questions also which were related to crypto, the product, and the market in general, and how to bridge the gap across different chains, making it easier to move assets and liquidity between them. So let's start the session. And meanwhile, I'll encourage all of the people to share the link of this Twitter Spaces on your timeline, so that more and more people could be a part of this conversation and could listen to the alpha. Christian and Slava are going to share with us today. Also, just so you know, you should drop your wallet addresses in the comments below, as you'll be receiving a proof of participation badge airdrop to your wallets after the session. Okay, so let's start. Super excited to see you, Christian and Slava. Now, let's go into the depth and philosophies behind the Entangle protocol, as we did the deep diving into the protocol and how it works in the ELI 5 session. So, to keep the ground running, for the people who are joining and who have not yet watched the Explain Like M5 session, Christian and Slava, could you please tell our audience what Entangle is all about, its background, and with your own introductions as well?
Sure thing. So Entangle is essentially a liquidity layer which is looking to unite all ecosystems of blockchains together. And how we're doing this is actually creating LSDs of any LP asset. And by creating LSDs from these assets, you can then take them into secondary protocols like lending and borrowing solutions, gambling protocols, options protocols. And this really allows for DeFi to expand, not only in liquidity, but the versatility of assets, which is really lacking right now. Since if you get your LP assets or just any assets in general, your user journey is typically quite shortened just by what the infrastructure is capable of. And what we're looking to do is really open up the opportunities and the possibilities that you have with your assets. And this is all housed by our own infrastructure. So we've actually built an Oracle and blockchain solution specifically for our Liquid Vault stack. And we've realized that because we've built this solution, we can allow other protocols to achieve the same goals and missions that we're trying to do as well. And this means that anyone using our Oracle and blockchain solution has access to a whole new world of utilities for what their protocol is capable of.
Yeah, that's so great to hear. It's pretty cool since perfect algorithms create a perfect harmony. And since the people who do not know about the team, they have another co-founder, Faisal, as well, like who used to manage the funds for their family and friends. So with these three and the other team, they are making something truly amazing, and we can't wait to see what's further here. Moving on, the concept of liquidity centric sublayer, is quite intriguing, which I saw in your white paper. So, could you explain, how this approach differs from traditional DeFi protocols, and why liquidity is at the heart of Entangle's vision?
Yes, it's definitely quite a mouthful. But even though it sounds complex, it's not as complex as it might seem. So we're fortunate, like you said, to have Faisal, who's worked at leading banks around the world, like Credit Suisse and JP Morgan, as a consultant. And what he saw from a bird's eye view was these assets in traditional finance, they have a lot of leverage and collateral potential. But when you come to DeFi, because there's not a lot of infrastructure built around these assets and their utility and how they can actually interact with one another, it causes a massive roadblock for how you can actually interact with different applications, which is why we've seen maybe substandard use of some of the DeFi protocols that we really enjoy and love. And how we envision blockchains is like cities. And to get to these different cities around the world, you need roads, but without the roads to these cities, you don't actually have a way of connecting with them. So we're essentially trying to create a new road or a new type of transportation between these ecosystems and cities that allows you to connect more liquidity. And essentially what we're doing is powering DeFi to a point where applications become usable now. And it means that protocols don't have to use these predatory tokenomics to actually incentivize users. They now have the optionality of using our infrastructure and integrating our products to then give their users a better experience while they're obtaining this liquidity. And I think that's really where we differ from most protocols is we're trying to create a win-win for both sides of the party, the protocol and the user. And I think it's really special what we're able to do with our Oracle and blockchain solution now.
Yeah, well said, Tristian. Liquidity is indeed the backbone of any financial ecosystem, and by placing it at the center of it is enhancing not only the accessibility of assets but also the capital efficiency of users and protocols. This approach builds a great solid foundation for a thriving DeFi landscape. Yeah. Moving on, Entangle employs a custom Oracle solution, to which is to power its native dApp, Liquid Vaults. Could you elaborate on how this Oracle solution works and why it's essential for the cross chain liquidity, which was mentioned above in the liquidity centric sublayer?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So, say you have a job and you work in Web 2 and you have a monthly salary. There's a good chance that that monthly salary is probably automatically topped up, and there's some sort of code or piece of software that automatically takes the money from that account and auto replenishes another bank account. And so that's what we're trying to achieve with our smart contract automation is by having these algorithms which automate all processes and executes on the different functions that are needed. It means that there's less manual input and it just saves a lot of human time as well, which is very valuable to most protocols. And it means that they can execute on strategies which are previously needed some type of human input. Another part of our Oracle solution is price feeds, so offering real-time market data, which is very important for tracking assets. We also have real-world data, so it's information beyond the crypto sphere, and this can be anything like checking, say, maybe real-world assets, which is becoming a narrative as well. We have the cross-chain interoperability, which is like an international banking system, say, for example, SWIFT. So if you have your bank account in America, this allows it to talk to a country in England or the UK. We also power all of this by our Entangle blockchain solution, which boasts extremely fast speeds of roughly 1 second. And it's also ensuring the accuracy and security of data with our decentralized network of keepers. And so they gather and cross-reference and verify all the information on the Entangle blockchain before it's used by any other protocol. So we're ensuring that security comes first and assets aren't being manipulated or miscalculated.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. And indeed, yeah, it's very crucial for liquid walls, to operate effectively as users need accurate and reliable data for making informed decisions as well uh, with their, money into money. And yeah, right. So with multiple chains involved, having a trustworthy Oracle solution also ensures that, information is used in liquid vaults and, it's accurate, up to date. Correct me if I'm wrong, like I'm summarizing everything here. And like yeah, it creates a seamless experience towards the end for the users who are looking to provide liquidity across the chains. And yeah, speaking of liquidity, could you provide a deeper insight into how the liquid staking derivatives work in Entangle and how they contribute to enhancing the liquidity and the capital efficiency?
I'd be happy to. So you've probably all heard of LSDs, which has become a very common term in crypto now. And what that simply is using assets as collateral to then be used for further utility. So a lot of big words that we've thrown around, which might make things seem more complex than they are. But what we essentially do with liquid vaults is create these different. Sorry, it's going to be a background noise. So we create these different solutions for LP assets, and what you can do is you get a receipt of these LP assets. And so when you go to another protocol or you come into Entangle, you say, here's my receipt. This receipt acts as a piece of collateral. So it approves that you own these assets, and then we can take the and say, okay, this person has $10,000 in Uniswap. We can now convert that into an LSD and have some collateral behind it, so there's security with the asset. And then we can take that LSD and put into like a lending and borrowing solution. We can then take out a $5,000 loan against it. And this was only previously possible with lending and borrowing solutions for certain assets. But now we can actually take LP tokens, which are auto compounded as well. So you're getting additional yield on top of your APY that you're getting from LP assets, and it's further compounding. So you're getting the maximum value. And this is all combined under the one piece of infrastructure called Liquid Vaults. And we can actually use multiple solutions, not only lending and borrowing. So we have the luxury of being able to use, say, a gambling protocol. And in gambling, you might have a 4-layer parlay, which is like a 4-layer bet. So it increases the risk, but it increases your chance of winning a large prize. And what utility you could get from that is you could have a bet on every chain. So you could have one for Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, Arbitrum, Optimism, and they might each offer different things which the other chain doesn't in terms of the betting protocol. So that might open up a new solution to the betting protocols, which is all powered by our Oracle solution as well. So it's really interesting to see what potential use cases could actually come from our product. We're just simply giving the chef a set of kitchen knives, and it's up to him to decide what he wants to cook with it.
Oh, yeah, great, great. It's really interesting. So, like, if I put it simply, LSD, the liquid staking derivatives, they offer like a flexible and more efficient way to utilize liquidity instead of being tied to a single chain. For those who are not that well versed with the LSD concept, users can, with Entangle, users can now unlock their assets and put them to work across different protocols at the same time. And also, I would like to remind our audience again to drop their wallet addresses in the comments to receive their badges after the session. Sorry for this. And yeah, next. Moving on, for someone who's completely new to this, what would you say are the top benefits they'll get using the Entangle protocol, and how user friendly is the platform considering the cross chain nature of it?
So that's some good points you bring up about usability. So as we've typically seen with DeFi, UI gets neglected quite often. And it means that when you use like a website or an interface, you get a lot of clunky experiences, and it might not be as streamlined as a Web2 application, simply because blockchain gets involved, you need decentralization. There's a lot more moving parts and potential security risk. And we realized this and said, obviously we want our users to have the best experience possible. What we're doing is simply a first of its kind. So we want the user experience to be the best it possibly can. So we've actually allocated a lot of developer time to creating a really sleek and smooth UI with fast block times as well, meaning that users can execute on transactions very fast and securely. And with our testnet, we've designed it in a way that users will get to experience our full mainnet before we actually go live. So they can actually test and, I guess, records different ways that we can have use cases, and it allows us to get very valuable feedback. So as you've all seen, security is one of the biggest issues in crypto and DeFi right now, and this allows us to get much more valuable feedback for our code. And when we go live to mainnet, we'll have a lot of bugs and issues fixed that wouldn't have been known if we didn't actually go live with testnet. So when we do go to mainnet, we'll be ensuring that all of our code and all of our UI is at the top of its game, and we'll make sure that our users come first.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. User experience is a priority, and the things you said, we are eagerly waiting for, the mainnet launch as well, since it's pretty important that the things you mentioned, like it getting the UI, at the level, because it is very hard to go through DeFi landscape for a beginner specifically, and this protocol is actually there to help those people who do not know bridging, who do not know how to do that complex stuff, everything at one place. So, with this, looking ahead, how do you envision the evolution of DeFi landscape with the integration of liquidity centric subledgers and protocols like Entangle? Like, what would be the potential impacts on the broader blockchain ecosystem, if I will say something about the roadmap to here to simply put that question into perspective?
Yeah, so I think looking at the future, it can be quite hard to tell what will actually open up because a lot of the times when you build the tooling that can facilitate mass adoption for DeFi, you'll often see things pop up which you didn't quite predict. Something that's interesting is Vitalik quoted NFTs, and he said that looking at Ethereum and back at its past, he never predicted NFTs would actually become a product of Ethereum. And I think that's a similar type of narrative with Entangle, is because we allow for so many different use cases and utilities for assets, we can't we can't really predict what's actually going to come from our infrastructure. All we know is we're opening up a sandbox to developers and other protocols to really build on top of the applications and infrastructure we've built. And we're very excited to actually see what's going to come from that. And we're going to be incentivizing users to create their own applications as well with our solutions and be showcasing that within our ecosystem because our goal is to expand DeFi and actually bring more to the liquidity layer that we're building. The way this impacts the broader ecosystem is we'll be able to facilitate a lot more cross-chain automation. So ecosystems will be able to speak with each other a lot more. And I wish I could drop some alpha on our Oracle solution of what we're actually going to allow. But obviously, Slava probably wouldn't be too happy if I gave the information away yet.
Yeah, totally get it. Slava, we know he's pretty busy, and I think you are also there at the conference, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm currently at Point Coast Bali. It's been a really great experience and networked with a lot of interesting people.
Exactly. So since we are short of time, and yeah, you have to you have to be there for the other errands as well. So I would really like to thank you now, like, for with this amazing question, with this amazing ending. And thank you all, thank you, Tristan, for sharing your insights into the exciting world of Entangle and liquidity centric sublayer. And just a reminder for our audience again to put your wallet addresses in the comments. And okay, it's clear that your vision for cross-chain liquidity and interoperability holds immense potential for reshaping the DeFi landscape, and we really appreciate your time and expertise today. And for those people who still have to check out the explain like M5 video, go ahead and check it out. You can also follow them on Discord, follow the community, and be there for their updates. Who wants to check it out, how the protocol works, the video explains it all. So on that note, I would like to thank you, our viewers, for tuning in into the episode of Web3 Talk Show. Stay curious and keep exploring the fascinating world of decentralized finance and Web3 technologies. It was really nice talking to you, Tristan. So, all the best to you, and we'll meet next time.